So, 10 hardest Elden Ring bosses that require incredible skill. I don't believe I have fought many of them. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about this. The incredible skill of beating Millennia by running away like a girl and casting Glintstone Pebble. I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. How is she with How is she with gravity magic? Because Rock Sling is like one of my go-tos. Oh, I know, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we'll see, Sirs. Who we reckon is number 2? I don't know. Fire Giant was so tough. Fire Giant was awful. Black Blade, Malakath. I mean, I feel like I didn't struggle too hard with him. Oh, you know, the Evergull fights. How do you pronounce that? Black Knife Teach. Is it Teach? I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but I beat most of the Evergulls. Teach? Okay. I struggled with some of them. For sure. Anyways, let's see. 10 hardest Elden Ring bosses that require incredible skill. We'll see if I'm not gonna scroll over. I'm not gonna see what they are. I'm gonna see if I've beaten any of these and how much trouble I had with them. Obviously, I haven't fought Millennia. Maybe one day, but you know, we'll see.
Elden Ring is, of course, a game filled with very, very difficult moments, but some of its bosses are just over the top. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, the 10 hardest bosses in Elden Ring.
Number 10 is Margit the Fell Omen. We're going to start this off with what might be the toughest first boss in any Souls game I've played. Guarding the entrance to Stormvale Castle, this guy's the first true...
I don't think I struggled with this guy too bad. Like, it was pretty early into the game, but I don't think I really struggled with this guy too much. I don't remember how many times it took me to kill him, but like, I wasn't like enraged by him by any means.
True test of skill this game throws at you, and he's not messing around. If there's one line of dialogue that's just burned in your memories from this boss, it's...
For a first boss, yeah.
Which is what he says when he kills you. And you're probably going to hear it more than once. At his core, he's basically the standard guy with a weapon Souls boss, at least at first. During the first phase of the fight, he's aggressive enough to keep you on your toes, but there's nothing that is too difficult outside of the very diabolical way he staggers his attacks to mess up your dodge timing. It might even just be a problem for Souls veterans, but at a certain point, you start to get used to how bosses and enemies attack, so you start dodging on muscle memory alone. But this guy switches up his timing so that you think he should dodge, but he takes a second longer to attack, and you end up eating the hit instead. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you fought this guy, you probably know what I'm talking about. At this point, he's still going easy on you, too, because once you get him down to about 60% health, he gets serious. He starts pulling out these spectral weapons, and everything just gets out of control. At this point, he starts stringing together his attacks, which sometimes just feel like they never stop. They're just a constant barrage. And
that was pretty annoying.
Is kind of a risky proposition. There's just no real comparison to any other first major Souls boss. This guy makes the guy from Dark Souls 3 look like a chump. Hell, he's harder than some Souls games' final bosses. I mean, based on your various statistics at this point in the game, anyhow, relative to him. Margit's an absolute beast of a first boss.
I don't know,
He's a huge pain, but it does feel really good to finally take him out. And number 9, the Fire Giant. In comparison to a lot of Souls games, which get easier as they go, I feel like Elden Ring mainly gets harder the further you get. And the final stretch is probably the most challenging section of the game.
You put him at 9?
The Fire Giant. This guy's pretty much the guardian of the end game, and he's not going to make it easy on you. Found on the mountaintop of the Giants, the Fire Giant is the protector of the Forge of Giants, the thing you need to burn the Erd Tree to gain access to the Elden Throne. Sure can't tell that a renowned fantasy writer was involved in coming up with this stuff. Anyway, the Fire Giant's a unique boss right from the start. For one thing, you can fight him while riding your spectral steed, which actually makes certain attacks easier to avoid. Part of what makes the guy so difficult is his massive size. Just getting to him can be tricky because he's surprisingly fast for such a big dude, too. His first form is relatively easy, as all you have to do to take him down is attack his ankles, which will eventually stun him and leave him vulnerable to a bigger attack, and that's when you pounce. In this form, it's fairly simple to do a lot of damage pretty quickly, so you might be tricked into thinking this guy's kind of a pushover, but no, of course he's got a second form. After you take off about 50% of his health bar, his leg snaps sideways, and he does what any sensible monster would do in this situation,
and rip
it off and sacrifice it to the fire, of course. The eyeball on his freakish chest face thing opens, and that's when this guy really becomes a problem. Now his only weak points are his eye and his hands, and both can be frustratingly difficult to reach. And on top of that, he's constantly belching out these chaotic bursts of fire that make even getting close to him dangerous. It doesn't help.
I feel like the second stage was easier for me. Like, just getting to him was the problem.
To tell what's going on, because in his second form, it's really better just not to target him at all. Blocking isn't going to save you from most of these attacks anyhow. No. So at the end of the day, it's much safer to just smack his legs and whittle his health down that way. It's a frustrating fight, and you can barely tell what's going on in the later stages. Like, look at this mess. What is this? And number 8 is Star Scourge Radon. Of course, we got to give special mentions to this.
I feel like Radon I struggled more with the fire giant than Radon.
And in comparison to how miserable this whole area is, getting to him is that.
No, I definitely struggled more with the fire giant than Radon. Like Radon, when I remember the very first time I walked into the battleground of Radon, I died immediately. Immediately. Oh, yeah. Yeah, did I fight him? I think I fought him pre-nerf. Didn't I? Or did I not? I did post-nerf? Are you sure? It's 2 days on Godric while I beat him on his second go. Yeah, I mean, it's different for everyone. Like, I remember... Like, in Dark Souls 3, there were a few bosses that, like I beat the Soul of Cinder on, like, the first try. The first try, I beat the main boss of the game. And I've got that, like, recorded. I have proof. Post-nerf, and then post-unnerf, but still nerfed a bit. Oh. I don't know. It depends when in game you fight these guys. Radon very early on is tough, but you can summon loads of them. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can summon it. Summoning the NPCs was pretty damn necessary. Otherwise, he just hounds down on you hardcore. But yeah, no, I struggled more with the fire giant than Radon for sure. Radon was a really cool fight though. But yeah, the first time I stepped in, I just died immediately when he shot me. I didn't even see it coming.
Actually surprisingly easy. Hell, there's an entire welcoming party waiting to greet you where they announce the Radon Festival.
Yeah.
The festival is nigh. General Radon, mightiest demigod of the Shattering, awaits you. Champions, prepare for battle.
Basically, this means when you take this guy on, you can summon pretty much as much help as you want. There's multiple summoning signs littered around the battlefield for you to use every single one that you can bring in to fight to death against this boss. You'd think that'd make him pretty easy, but no, he'll mess you up. He's a gigantic warrior riding a tiny little horse, which means a few things. For one, he's faster than he looks, and the range of his weapons is pretty big. He fights you like he's 1/3 the size that he is, so just avoiding certain attacks from his massive blades is challenging enough. The warriors you call in to help also don't last that long against him, but they're essential to distract him so you can actually get some hits in. At the very least, his health bar isn't too big, so you can do some pretty good damage to him relatively quickly. The problem is he can kill you a lot faster than you can kill him, and for weaker players, that just means he's death. For everybody else, whatever follow-up he has will be more than enough to finish you off. He hits hard, and he is relentless, so the only way to survive is to know where it's safe to stand to hit him. And like pretty much every boss in the game, he becomes much worse in the second form, where he jumps into the air and comes crashing down like a meteor. Pretty much the one way to avoid this attack is to get on your sprint steed and
start running, otherwise it's instant death, and from here he starts modifying all of his attacks with additional gravity effects. There's so much this guy can do that'll just kill you instantly, and it's ridiculous. The only reason he's not higher on this list is that you can summon so many guys to help you out.
Yeah.
That makes Radahn just very difficult rather than nearly impossible,
Yeah.
which is truly what he would be without all that help. And number 7 is the full-grown Falling Star Beast, which is found on top of Mount Gelmir, guarding the way to Volcano Manor, and no surprise here, he's a pain in the ass to fight. What's unique about this thing is that in comparison to pretty much every other boss on the list, it doesn't have a lot of weird attacks or gimmicks. It's just really aggressive, does a lot of damage, and takes a lot of hits to take down, which makes the whole fight into basically a grueling test of endurance. That's
I hated
basically
these
all
guys.
there is to it. Most of its
them.
attacks are pretty easily telegraphed, and it doesn't do anything too far out of the standard boss formula that you're pretty much used to at this point. It's just that the hard shell surrounding it makes it a lot harder to do any real damage to this guy, which makes the fight take longer, which makes it more likely that you'll make a fatal mistake. Trying to hit its weak spots is basically a waste of time too. The guy's too fast and reactive to make it something you can consistently do.
Yeah.
It's at least weak to magic damage, so that's one way to speed things up, but it still takes way too long. There's long bouts of the fight where you're pretty much stuck waiting for an opportunity to attack, because there's just no openings to do anything. It's not a complicated boss, just an unusually tough one. It sucks, but thankfully you don't have to fight it if you don't want to. You just run right past it and there's nothing it can really do. For folks with no patience, it's a boss where the best option to win is to breeze past it and give it no attention, which also describes most social media.
Yeah.
At number 6, Mog, the Lord of Blood. Almost every Omen boss in this game is tough, but Mog, found deep in the Mogwind Palace, is a special kind of bastard. What makes him so difficult isn't so much his regular attacks, but the annoying effects he causes. Like many of his attacks cause bleed, which does a ton of damage, and he leaves these flaming pools of blood all over the place that severely limit where you can go. That's all bad enough, but it's nothing compared to his worst attack. Like randomly during the fight, he'll cast his spell that causes a ring to appear around you. It's totally unblockable and unavoidable, and while it doesn't do anything at first, after you get his health bar down to 50%, he'll whip out this absolutely brutal attack that saps about half your health or more per hit, which can't be blocked and restores a big chunk of health per hit, just to add insult to injury. And he does it 3 times in a row. Seriously, it does so much damage that for me at least, if I didn't heal mid-attack, it would kill me instantly. Like every single time. You're pretty much forced to take damage here, and it sucks. The only way to avoid this move is to plan ahead. There's a physic you can use that nullifies the spell's effects, but if you don't know about that, you're pretty much screwed.
Well, now I know about it.
The second form where he sprouts wings is, of course, very tough on its own. He starts really going nuts with the flaming blood attacks, and it feels like half the arena is just gonna kill you. And he likes to do this attack where he'll summon a shower of blood, which makes standing near him very dangerous.
Ah, that's why
Seriously,
you
the
use
flaming
magic.
blood stuff will drop your health to 0 in seconds. And number 5 is Estelle, Natural Born of the Void.
One of my
Found in the deepest
favorites.
and darkest depths of the land between, this elder god-looking monstrosity is an unorthodox boss. And
This is another one that
as
killed me
difficult as
instantly
it is
the first
abnormal.
time.
There are 2 things that make this guy a pain to fight. It's as aggressive as you'd expect from a boss in this game. It's constantly moving and just hitting it's a pain. And it's got a lot of highly
magic,
damaging
100%.
long-range attacks. Also, if you manage to get in close, its bizarre shape makes the camera go crazy, so it's hard to tell what's even going on when you do manage to get close to attack it. And it's also got a lot of annoying attacks, but one of the worst is this infuriating ability where it slams its hand in the ground and causes a series of gravity shockwaves. It's pretty much guaranteed to hit you multiple times. Its second stage isn't quite as bad as certain other bosses on this list, but all that really means is that this thing is tough the whole way through. There's no one standout attack that really makes it tough in particular. It just does a ton of damage and has a lot of area of effect attacks. And those are difficult to avoid, so it's generally hard to hit and sustain a decent amount of health. Also, its grabs are just brutal. And number 4 is Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, and Horalu. The endgame of Elden Ring is just this brutal parade of bosses.
Yeah.
And Godfrey isn't the first or the last. He is a standout in terms of difficulty. His first form is basically
was really
what you'd
tough,
expect. A much more
actually.
difficult version of the Golden Ghostly form you fought him in previously. But this time, he's the real deal, and the damage he can inflict on you is no joke.
It's
now,
insane.
it seems pretty no frills at first. He's just a guy with a big axe. When you knock out half of his health, a cutscene triggers, and that sets off the real fight, where he reveals his true nature and starts fighting you like a total wild man. Like, he gets much, much more aggressive, whipping out brutal combos that he'll chain into devastating and actually kind of hilarious grab attack moves where he power bombs you into the ground like an insane Zangief from Street Fighter. It's another boss where the damage output combined with the aggression makes it a fight where death can come at any second. By far his most devastating attack is when he's almost dead. He charges up and surrounds himself with some kind of smoke or something, which turns every single one of his attacks into a powerful AoE. The only way to avoid it is to jump over it, and that is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. Timing it sucks.
Godskin Duo. If there's one boss in this game I would describe as being unfair, it's this one. These guys are the mid-bosses of the crumbling Fair Mazura, and they're something all right.
I'm not gonna lie, I really did not struggle with these guys. I don't know if I just got incredibly lucky, but I feel like the Godskins were not a very big problem for me. Am I the only one? Like, I handled the Godskins pretty damn well. You know, I just focused really hard on one, and then the other guy was it just worked out. Yeah, I did have huge rock sling damage, but that's okay. Magic. Alright. I flunged some big fucking I have incredible skill, yeah. Ranged attacks will do that, yeah. Yeah, well, just be a gravity mage. Fuck their shit up. I did not struggle with these guys, though.
The whole thing is about as straightforward as it gets. You have to fight a Godskin Apostle and a Godskin Noble at the same time. They're both tough enough on their own, but both at once is total BS. It's the kind of thing you see in a DLC optional area or something in like Dark Souls 2. Just a dumb combo boss you're pretty much expected to summon help for. But instead of being in some unnecessary side area, these guys block your main progress. Like, you have to kill them if you want to move on in the game.
Yeah.
The worst thing by far in this fight is the Noble. It's got this attack where it balloons out and does this big rolling attack that homes in on you. The hitbox is super wonky, too. It goes on way longer than it seems like it would, and the damage this one attack does is just ridiculous. On top of that, killing one of these guys is not enough. For some reason, their combined health bar is bigger than both of their individual health bars, and as long as there's some red in that health bar, one or both of them will revive. So even if you're smart and try to take these guys out individually, they'll still force you to fight both of them at the same time. There's really not much else to say about this one. It's a painful fight that feels really pointless in the grand scheme of things, and that makes how incredibly hard it is feel much worse. It's basically a filler rematch against bosses you've already fought, and for some reason, it's tougher than most of the real, like, actual bosses in the game. And number 2 is Radagon of the Outer Order and the Elden Beast. For as much as everyone talks about the difficulty of Souls games, it's strange how easy the last
Radagon I had no problem with.
Now, that's not the case
the Elden
with the
Beast,
bosses
though?
of Elden Ring. The last guys will just chew you up and spit you out. And this time, you're not taking on 2 forms of the same boss. It's literally just 2 bosses you have to fight in a row, and they're both really challenging on their own. In previous Souls games,
so I have, like, the missile seeking, like, the seeking spell, and I destroyed Radagon pretty easily with that. I used my Mimic Tear to keep him distracted, and then I could pretty consistently kill him very fast every time without really having to use any, like, Estus. But the Beast was just a long and annoying ass fight. Just every time. It's like, oh, I got a couple hits in, now he's on the other side of the map. Got a couple hits in, He's on the other side of the map, and he's using fucking heat-seeking missiles. He's doing these blasts that I'm having a hard time avoiding because my hands don't work. Oh.
They've been nice enough to have a boss stay dead after you kill them, but not here. If you want to win, you have to beat both Radagon and the Elden Beast at the same time.
Yep.
No checkpoints, no health refills, no nothing. It adds a whole new layer to the whole thing because the fight against Radagon isn't just about winning. You also want to avoid as much damage as possible,
yep.
which is not easy because it feels like half of his attacks are some form of area of effect.
Yep.
At least with him, you have a basic understanding of what to expect, though. He's a guy with a weapon, and even though he's a god, he basically fights exactly how you'd expect.
Yeah.
Not so much with the second fight against the Elden Beast, a bizarre-looking creature that's basically a dragon with a sword that can also swim through the floor. It's a crazy-as-hell fight with some wild attacks, like this one where it summons this ring that slowly converges before causing an explosion, and the only way to avoid it is to run like hell and jump over the ring. These two fights combined are up there with the hardest bosses in the entire series, but it's nothing compared to the boss at number 1.
Yeah, Millennia.
And number 1 is Millennia, Blade of Mikola. This fight's already infamous among Elden Ring players, and for good reason. Millennia is seriously just a step above. Found at the base of the Halig tree, this boss has only one forgiving thing about it. It's optional. From the outside, Millennia looks like a pretty standard boss. Watching the opening sequence, I just figured it'd be something like Artorias, the Abyss Walker from Dark Souls 1, you know, really aggressive and challenging, but basically a fun fight. I was wrong. Well, not completely. How she fights is actually pretty similar to Artorias, but with one added wrinkle. Every time she hits you, she restores a chunk of her own health. It's that one little thing that turns this fight from being one that's tough but fair into an absolutely insane battle where you're always on the back foot unless you play incredibly aggressively.
This is just bringing back PTSD from the Doom Eternal DLC Part 2 boss. That boss took me like 2 hours. It was so upsetting. If you hit it at the wrong time, he heals health. If he hits you at all, he heals health. During that boss, though, there was like a quarter of a second where you could hit him and you would do damage. But if you hit him, and there'd be like a couple minutes in between when you could do damage, which was bullshit. Literally the worst boss I've ever fought in any game. I fucking hated it so much. I hated it so much. When I finally beat him, like I would play Doom Eternal again. Totally. Great game. So much fun. But I would not do that DLC again. No. Absolutely not. Nope. Ain't happening. That was... Ugh. Yep, it's bad. Be aggressive. Only way I can beat her. Don't think, just attack. Well, that's how I play these games, so... maybe I wouldn't be so bad against Millennia. Reckon they'll try and top Millennia in the DLC? I fucking hope not. Oh my god.
She has two major weaknesses, status effects and poise, and if you want to win, you pretty much have to exploit that, otherwise she'll simply overwhelm you with damage. Unless you want to plan ahead or just master the game, she'll just heal more health than you can hurt her, making the fight impossible. But it gets better. When you knock her health all the way down, guess what? She's got a second form. Now you have to deal with her generating clouds of scarlet rot on top of everything else, which is just ludicrous. For many people, just beating the first form is a Herculean effort, and then they take the second one on, and that's even worse. It's pure cruelty, but if you manage to overcome everything she throws at you, then you're an Elden Ring master. Millennia isn't just the toughest boss in Elden Ring, she's probably up there with some of the hardest bosses of all time, period. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.
Damn, man. Alright, so, like, I think everybody has pretty much decided that Millennia is probably the hardest Souls boss, period. Radagon, I didn't have a big problem with because I'm a magic user. It's the Elden Beast who doesn't really give a shit. You hit him with magic, you know, doesn't doesn't really affect him too much, so that's why I used a sword that's scaled with intellect. The Godskin duo, I did not struggle with it, but again, that's because I'm a gravity mage. I managed to do very well. Godfrey was pretty tough. I would say Godfrey is pretty damn tough. Estelle, I struggled with Estelle, but it was a very interesting and fun fight. I really enjoyed it. And also Estelle is up there with like one of my favorite designs for an enemy. I don't know, I just thought, and also like just the map that he was in was very beautiful. It's just a very, very cool creature. Wasn't there more than one, by the way? Wasn't there more than one Estelle? I'm pretty sure there were at least two. And he's like related to those, fucking, where was he? The Falling Star Beasts, aren't they related to Estelle? In a way? Like, I know there was like a, I don't want to say it's like a conspiracy, but like there was like people thought that maybe the Falling Star Beasts evolved into Estelle's over time. There were environmental ones, but only one boss. Yeah, okay. Dragon Lord, Placido, not there. I didn't find him too hard, but harder than some lower on the list. You encounter Estelle in the... Yeah, I beat Estelle. There's a second Estelle in the snowfields. Ah. Yeah. Star Scourge, Radon. You know, Radon was tough. He was tough. I did beat him though. Fire Giant, I think I would probably put higher on the list for me. He took me a long time. He took me a long ass time. Margit, he was tough. But, you know, I beat him at what I think is a decent rate. I don't know. I maybe died like 10 times, but again, my hands don't work. Maybe more, maybe less. I don't really remember. It's been a year, and I don't want to keep track of how many times I die. It just gives me anxiety. But I mean, yeah, these are all tough. I mean, I did not fight Moog. Fought you. You sucked. Did not fight Moog. I fought Estelle. I fought Godfrey. I fought the Godskin duo. I fought these guys. Could not beat the Elden Beast. But I'm gonna go back and beat him eventually. I'm gonna go back into Elden Ring and do other side stuff and then go back to the Beast. And then Millennia I did not fight. So I fought most of these guys, I beat most of these guys. Some of them were definitely ass. But, yeah, I guess just, we'll see. I do really want to fight Moog though. It's such a cool area. It's just getting to him. I gotta figure that out. Hey Bang, what's up? Hey. What a cutie. Anyways, yeah, no, I mean, I do agree with a lot of things on that list. I do. But also, like, around the time that I was trying to beat the game, I mean, that was kind of a tough time in my life. Emotionally, I was not there. I did not have the patience to fight, you know, with, like, the whole Odin thing and a few other problems in my life. It was really tough on me emotionally. I was emotionally completely not okay. So I'm really not surprised that I gave up on Elden Ring at the time. You know, having to put down Odin was a lot on my heart. So, like, I'll get back to it at some point when I feel I'm ready. But for now, there's other games that I want to get out of the way, I guess. I feel really bad for anybody that is watching me play Elden Ring on the VOD channel, and then they get to the end and they don't even get to see me beat the game. Oh, God. I mean, mind you, there are hours and hours and hours of people, or hours of gameplay for people to watch. So there is that. I'm really proud of myself for actually finally getting this stuff uploaded on the VOD channel, though. took me a while. Like, oh god, it's just been rough. I feel like oh no, I mean they'll understand. It's fine. If anybody comes and asks, I'll just answer their question. If anybody like comments, I'll just, you know, still about 2 days left if people have been nonstop watching. Yeah, right.